North Carolina. North Carolina.
That's the story you got.
You guys are now that you said all the three G's, I know all teachers
Domesticated coffee. Grew up in the house. Right there. It's good. Right there.
You come in tonight, you come in tomorrow. You just got scared about tonight.
So it's like. He's speaking because he deserves to be and what he's done.
You know, I got
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing?
Great.
Awesome. All right, let's get started. So I guess, it's our first training of the year, which I'm really excited, of the decade. I know some people off work, so I appreciate you guys coming this morning. I have some things that we're going to talk about, then we'll get into our training. But first I wanted to kind of do a little mindset. One thing I like about our business is, every week you can reinvent yourself, every month you can reinvent yourself, every contest you can reinvent yourself, every incentive you can reinvent yourself. And, but still, you still get caught up in the New Year's resolutions, right? And I do too, so I'm not saying I don't. I don't like fully embrace New Year's resolutions. I believe personally just in powerful habits, right? Like I don't think a date really determines, but I do feel there is some kind of magical effect when you start writing checks or, saying something and it's January 1st or 2020 or whatever it is, right? And then, some of these people, they're showing the decade challenge and they show pictures of where they were 10 years ago. And I think about where I was 10 years ago, right? I had no RVPs, I have no kids, my son was born in April of 2010. So in a couple months, he'll be 10 years old, right? And I just think about, I was living in an apartment, I think it was probably a couple hundred square foot apartment, and now whenever I got a house, got a pool, all that stuff, and I don't know, I had some money in the bank, but now I probably have 4 or 5 times that money, and a lot can happen to you in 10 years. Okay, you could be financially independent in 10 years. Right? You don't know where you could be. You don't know how many agents you could have. You don't know how many RVPs. I don't have 9 licensed people. I have 9 RVPs in 10 years. That's 1 a year, right? So, I always want you to feel the possibilities, get excited, but, also realize you're going to have to put in the work. And one thing, if you're human, when the year turns and you kind of review your goals and you go through writing out your goals, it's very easy and natural to start feeling bad. Okay, you can start feeling bad. Don't feel bad, all right? Don't beat yourself up. It's not worth it. It's not going to help you. Okay, I mean, you know, I am a self-image guy. I believe that, you know, you work in correlation to your self-image, and you got to feel good about yourself, right? Like, you know, and I think a lot of it's not, you know, the clothes you wear and things like that. It's just, you know, feeling overall, just having a positive outlook on you. All right. So, you know, as we come into the year, right, and sometimes you see other people and they're doing really well, like, don't worry about that. You know, there are a lot of people they whipped me before, right? And there's a lot of people I whipped and they're beating me tremendously, right? And there's a lot of people, they beat me and, you know, in the business, and I'm like, man, they're so good. I remember one of my first big events, a 19-year-old had gotten promoted to RVP. And, you know, not only did he get promoted to RVP, arrogant, right? Like he was up there talking about how he knew. And I'm like, gosh, man, this guy is so great. He's so successful, 19, and he just made you feel terrible, right? I don't know if you ever meet people like that. They just talk like they're so good and they make you feel bad, right? He was like, he got terminated from the company, right? He's not even here, right? Whatever he did. And you know, I'm not saying, you know, that company, that's not a reflection of our company, that was him, but what if I would have went crazy and sunk my business because of this guy, right? I don't worry about that. I don't ever worry about those things. Now, look, I try to put people up in front of you that can help you and give you a few ideas, because if something you can tweak and dial in a little bit more and it'll assist you, then use it, right? But never, ever, ever feel bad. That's not what Primerica is, and that's not what this environment is for, right? Now, look, if someone will take your excuses away, and if some of you work better, feeling a little bit, not bad, but just like angry, then good. Okay, take it for something overall that can be positive, right? So I used to be this big, and I'm not knocking goal setting. I love goal setting. I love it. I think it's great to visualize, to all that stuff, okay? But I used to be this crazy goal setter. I'd write out 100 goals. I'd go through everything. I'd have an income goal and you know, a recruiting goal and a width goal, a securities goal, a books goal. And I do still have a few goals every year, okay? But I am much more simple now in my life, okay? And now I just try to take some chunks, right? I just try to bite some things off. I just try to do eliminate a couple bad things that I'm doing and replace those with something extremely positive, okay? And I think I think it's a very simple way to be. And I think it's something that's very manageable and doable, all right? And something I was talking to Hai this morning, I talked about, or not this morning, but this week, and I talked about this last week, and I figured I'd just do it in a training. I was actually going to leave a message, but I figured, you know, I could kind of compile my thoughts. And, you know, I titled this short training before we get into our training, Morning Routine Hacks, right? You know, I was reading something a long time ago, one of my favorite books ever that you'll ever read, okay? Probably my top book ever is See You at the Top, right? By Zig Ziglar. It's probably, you know, for me, it's my favorite book, okay? Greatest self-improvement book, goals, mindset, thinking, attitude, you know, and he said, a day is a miniature life. A single day is a miniature life. And if you have a lot of good days, you'll have a good life. Okay, so me personally, you know, I talk about these things. I talk about feeling bad. I talk about feeling bad about yourself, like I just talked about, beating yourself up. Why do you think I talk about that? Because I'm very victim to that. Okay, I'm like everybody else, right? You know, anxiety, and I don't want to use these strong words, okay? But you just get anxious, you get a little, you feel down. Sometimes it's just not in your belly that day. You know, sometimes, you're just feeling like, oh gosh, and then doubt and fear and all those things creep in. Am I a leader? Can I do it? I've been broke before. I succumb to all those things. I was a terrible student. I was not exuding confidence. I had to completely change everything about me. I had traits, small traits of success, okay? But most of that success was squandered on lack of discipline or negative influences or poor choices, which is all of the above. And then I see some of my other peers and they went on to do much bigger, better things. And then you know what you do when you compare, right? You don't compare fairly, right? You compare somebody's best trait versus your worst. So that is a recipe, right? You say, oh man, I can't dunk like LeBron. Yeah, but I can dunk better than Josh. Right? I'm not fast like whoever, right? Usain Bolt, but I'm faster than Donald. Right? You know what I'm saying? But no. You only compare the best of the best to your worst of the worst. You know, you're just gonna feel bad. So when I say those things, I totally get it. So for me personally, okay, this is just me, all right? Going to bed and waking up early, if I, and not waking up, but how I go to bed and how I wake up, if I can handle those two things, Therese, man, I am ahead. I have accomplished something. I'm moving. I'm confident. I feel great. I feel like, man, I'm ready to attack the day, and things go downhill from there. If I feel sluggish in the morning and I succumb to that, and I'm terrible the night before, man, it's bad. Okay, so like I'm not a guy that works the color. I tell you guys this all the time, a color-coded schedule where everything's green, red, this, that, and I am by the 15 minutes. I'm not that guy, okay? If you are that person, awesome. I think that's better, okay? But I'm not that person, okay? So I don't even want to talk about that. I'll tell you what I do, right? And some of the things that I do, and I'll talk to you about what I do. And then you can kind of take from it, all right? So a routine, right? A routine. And thank you, Shonda. I know I sent this to you 3 minutes before, so thanks for putting these on slides. A routine is a sequence of actions you do repeatedly. Okay, not once, not twice, repeatedly. Okay? And here, this is not about perfection, it's about consistency. Okay? And here, this is scientific, okay? This is what I'm going to say. Your willpower is strongest and most abundant in the morning, okay? That is in the book, The One Thing. This is not me just saying this or a feel. I agree with that, okay? Now look, if some of you work nights and your morning starts at 11 a.m. Okay, I get it. You're going to have a morning. I don't know what time that is, okay? And I'll give you some general rules for it in a minute, but whenever you wake up, that's when your willpower is the best, okay? And it's the most abundant. It's a battery, like a cell phone. It's going to drain, okay? And you know, like in a cell phone, when you're on low power mode, your phone doesn't function as well. Can't download app because when the battery's low, it conserves the battery energy, so it doesn't allow you to do all these things. Automatic updates, you know, you can't FaceTime, it's slow, all those things. Same thing happens with your body. Okay? When your willpower is slow, you're just gonna get steamrolled. So consistency builds rhythm in your life. And if you do it long enough, then it becomes on autopilot. It's just automatic. It's subconscious. And it's necessary, right? Some of you guys know me, right? You guys know me, you see how I am, right? And one thing I do to take the thinking out of my life, I eat the same things for breakfast every single day. What do I eat? Eggs. Eggs, pickles, guacamole, cheese, banana. Right now, I eat a crazy breakfast. Okay, I also eat a huge thing of oatmeal before I even come, and I carry my stuff with me. I don't think about it. I'm not like, oh, what am I going to have this morning, and take 15 minutes in the fridge. That, you know what it does, Kelvin, too? It refines my body, meaning like my digestive system. I can eat the same thing. I don't have to, you know, sometimes you eat something like, ooh, you have the bubble guts. Right? Nobody has to. You'll have to when you turn 40. Okay? You eat something good. You don't have a stomach like you used to. Like, whoa, whoa. You gotta start bending stuff on the kids. Like, which one of you kids farted? Use the bathroom. And then they know it's you. They start laughing. Like, Daddy, we know it's you. Yeah. Our farts don't smell like that. They're right. So I eat the same things in the morning. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. Why would I think about it? You know, like Jim Harbaugh, right? He's the head coach of Michigan football. And he was an NFL coach. He coached at Stanford before. And, you know, whatever. He's one of the elite coaches, right? He wears the same thing every single day. Every single day. He wears Dickies pants. I'm sure he goes, it's one thing less to think about. I totally agree with that. I don't want to spend my morning thinking. Now, dinner, okay. Some if you enjoy to eat, cool. I get it. Some people like Samir, right? Like with Samir one time we went out to eat, right? And this guy took 3.5 hours to eat. I was like, yo, and it was just me and him. I was like, yo, I can't do this, man. Like, this is too much. Give me the freaking check. I'm out of here. Like, I like to eat in 30, 45 minutes. If I could blend my food and just put it in my stomach, I don't. But he's like savoring it every bite, and I'm just like, dude, I'm literally going crazy. Like, I cannot stand this. Right? Like, you know, it's awkward. He's looking at me while I'm eating. He wants me to look at him while he's taking the bite. No. Okay? But if you like to eat, okay, maybe dinner. Do that. Something different. You want variety. I get it. Me personally, in the morning, I don't got time to think about it. Okay? So I want a routine that becomes, and now if I eat something different, my body doesn't even sit right. It's automatic and it's necessary. Right? Like I exercise a lot. I do. I'm not saying I'm great at exercise, but I do it very regularly. And when I don't, I feel sluggish. When I don't, I'm tired. When I don't have the endorphins. When I don't, my blood doesn't. I have lower energy levels. Why? Because I've done it so much, it's become a powerful habit. Right? That's why you have to build a routine. Okay, so always remember, your morning routine starts the night before. Okay, it doesn't start in the morning. So this is what I do, okay? And some of these things, obviously, I'm not saying I'm perfect every time. Okay, I'll go through the psychology behind some of these things. But I'm very, very consistent with it, okay? When I say that I miss, like everybody else, I don't beat myself up if I miss, you know. Like, you know, my kids were sick, you know, for the last 4 or 5 days. Obviously, my routine went to crap, okay? Now, look, you know, when I was in the throes and thrills of doing everything, yeah, was I a little, even if it, you know, like 3 kids with a temperature over 100, yeah, that might throw me off, okay? But, you know, little things like, you know, I had to wake up to use the restroom, is not going to throw my morning routine off. That's how important I knew my morning routine. And your morning routine is not the morning. It starts the night before. Okay? So, number 1, I would have a detailed, I'm talking the most detailed to-do list. Okay? I'm sure many people have talked about this, but one person that has really talked about this before is Ben Franklin. He talked about that. Right? He wrote about it. He's discussed it. Right? A crazy to-do list, right? Everything. Don't leave anything. It doesn't matter how little it is, how big it is. It just helps you map things out. It makes you a little bit more cerebral about the next day. 2, okay? This is just me, okay? I'm not saying this. Look, successful people are early risers. They wake up early, okay? I'm just telling you. Right? And early could be 20 or 30 minutes before everybody else. Okay. I'm not saying like, yes, some people, you know, Tim Cook wakes up at 4:30 every single morning. CEO of Apple. Right? Some executives, you know, if they have a global company, they got to wake up really early because they're talking to people from in different parts of the globe. Okay. I'm not that. Okay. So I'm not waking up at 4:30. I'm not waking up at 5, but I wake up before everybody else in my household. Okay, because once everybody else wakes up, you guys know, right? I mean, it's just, you know, anger. Cursing kids out. Right? And then sometimes there's really bad violence. So, you know, I gotta wake up at least 20 minutes early, okay? At least 20 or 30 minutes early just to decompress and just to get a serene, quiet house. That's just me, okay? But I feel you should rise early, okay? I think you should get up early. Less stress, less rush, mind is fresh, sense of pride. And I mean this, when I wake up on time, right there, I feel I have a victory. Okay? Now, you know, for me, obviously this is also, for me personally, it's a religious obligation, but I pray. That's the first thing I do. I wash, I pray. But I feel that also clears my head. That's just me personally. I feel it's a great discipline for me. It's a great act of gratitude, right? A lot of people don't wake up. That's the truth, right? I mean, a lot of people don't wake up in the morning, and you have a morning. You woke up. God, this is just me personally, my belief. Right? I don't try to oppress my beliefs on you, but you're blessed to wake up, right? And I feel you should have an attitude of gratitude. I pray, you know, all those things. It gives me a minute or two of meditation, but it clears my mind. All right. Then I exercise. Okay. Now, I don't exercise like I'm not doing a biathlon or an Ironman or 45 minutes. I don't do that. But look, I do believe in doing some sort of exercise because I'm sluggish in the morning. Okay. That's just me. Honestly, I'm not like up and like, woo, ready to go. Okay. I don't like that. Okay. I'm tired. Okay. So if I exercise, okay, and this is probably one of like these three, but exercise is the one that you can miss sometimes, meaning like that's where I fall. Okay. Now, look, for the most part, I'm financially independent. I'm going to exercise. Okay. For you guys, right? You know, if you have the schedule during the day to exercise, if you don't, then you got to make that more of a priority. All right. Look, this is just me. This is what I do. If you wanted to eliminate this, I guess you could. I'm telling you my specific routine in the morning. For me, right? I feel it better when I exercise. It increases my blood flow. It releases endorphins. Okay. Like I start to feel happy. Okay. I know some of you guys love to feel happy, right? So you're at the bar all the time. Okay. All right. That's why I don't go to social media. Then I'll know where you guys are. Right. I like to feel happy naturally. Okay. I like pills too. Don't take them, but you know, I like taking supplements and things like that. It don't work. Okay. Doesn't work. Right. So for me, I like to exercise. It gives me, higher energy. Just me personally. Right. Another sense of accomplishment. Look, if you I'm not like a fitness freak like Kelvin, right? I thought I saw you in one of those Peloton commercials. When the song kicks in and he's dance singing. You seen that commercial? Ready or not, here I come. So my wife goes, "Is that Kelvin?" I go, "It is." He did it. He made it. But for me, also, right? It helps your metabolism if you work out in the morning. It's going to help your digestive system, help your metabolism. If you're into any sort of weight loss or anything, any sort of aesthetic, it's going to burn fat better if you work out in the morning. Okay, that's just the truth too, and it'll get you going a little bit. I don't think you have to have a crazy workout. Maybe you do 30 push-ups, sets of 5, do something, right? Do some sit-ups. I like to have some sort of routine that I do, right? And I switch it up, all right? But do something, man. If you want to walk around your block, do it. If you want to get on a treadmill and run, I don't care what you do, but I think you should move, okay? Me personally, I eat very healthy in the morning, okay? I eat very healthy, right? I'm not eating any junk, right? I eat extremely healthy. I believe, right, me personally, what you put in, it helps you, right? Then I go, and while I'm eating, I do self-improvement, right? And I don't care what it is. It's just a book. Is it something I've read in the morning? Is it something, I don't care what it is. Some self-improvement. This is my routine. I always take a shower, right? It wakes me up a little bit more. I don't like having bedhead and stuff like that. So I take a shower, and then the first thing that you do is eat the frog, right? And that's a concept in self-improvement, right? You got your big frogs, your nastiest, hairiest frogs, the things that will lead to the greatest amount of success in your life. You do those first, okay? Not what you want to do. For me, Josh, it was every day I was on the phone. I was a phone call prospector. I got on the phone. I believe my skill on the phone has helped me tremendously in this business. And I would do like what other people are doing, right? Every single day, I would get on the phone and I would this is just me personally, I would get out of the house, I would get to the office, and I was on the phone for 3 hours every single morning. And that is what changed my entire life. But it started the night before. Okay. Now, are you going to have some cheat days? Sure. Right. I mean, Saturday night, you go out to a movie, you stay out late. Could it affect you? But look, like I said, the better you are with this 5-6 days a week, a day is a miniature life, right? Go to the next one. A day is a miniature lifetime. And with lots of good days, you have a good life. And this is another thing Zig Ziglar said, right? How you get up in the morning will play a huge part in how high you go up in life. And think about everybody else. Think about everybody else, okay? They go to bed, they're overwhelmed, they're thinking about work, they hate work, they're thinking about putting their kids to school in the morning and all those things. They're extremely frustrated. They wake up late, they're hustle and bustling. They have no goals. They have no routine. Then they go back to work. They're a zombie again for 8 or 9 hours. Then they come back at night. They got 3-hour window to try to accomplish everything that they're even trying to accomplish. And usually they just veg out and watch TV and do all the stupid stuff that they do. Look, and while I like those things, okay, meaning I binge watch, right? I do that, right? If someone finds a good show, tell me about it. I love movies. I love watching all movies. You know, I like to do stuff like that. But there's a time and a place for it. Not when you're trying to get out of hell. Okay, I'm serious. You know, when you have money in the bank, you got a big base shop, you got RVPs, you can do whatever the heck you want. I am so liberal with my schedule right now, it's crazy. I can get caught up on everything. I can get into everything. But yeah, when I was into it, no, man, I protected my time. Because I knew you can always make more money, but you can't get your time back, right? If you want to, and the purpose of this Friday meeting to teach you how to be full-time. To teach you how to be full-time self-employed Primerica, running the schedule and understanding what you do. And I'm telling you, how you go to bed and how you wake up, if you could just fix those things and get a small routine, you don't have to be as detailed as mine. I mean that. You don't. I promise you. If you don't, some people, they just don't like breakfast. I put my routine up there. If some people might grab a thing of orange juice and a power bar. Okay, even better for you. Right? You may not have to do all the things that I do in my routine that make me feel great about myself to every day, but you got to have something. And you wake up sluggish and you drag out of bed and, no, and you're different every morning. No, you're done. I'm just telling you that right now. Someone's going to discipline you and you're going to have to get in the discipline of a job and that schedule and all that stuff, which, some people it's good for, but for me it's not. All right. All right. Before I get into the next training, I'm going to talk about something real quick and then we're going to go into some investment stuff. All right. So one thing I was talking with my brother about and Val before. So he had a client scenario, and this is important, right? He had a client scenario, and we got to the 4 questions, and once you get to the 4 questions, once you've completed the initial part of the presentation, where you've done the introduction, you sat down, you introduce the trainee, you tell them a little bit about what's going to go on here, and then you start your slides and presenting, and you ask questions, and you're probing, and you're processing all the information, okay? They're saying stuff, they think they're casually saying it, but you're logging it, right? And you tie them down, you're asking questions, then you get them into, and this is what he was telling me, right? And you get into the 4 questions, and you find out their priorities, right? And we go through, protection and retirement and debt and college. And What, by show of hands, right? What do you think the top priority is? Not what it should be, what the clients pick. Who says it's gonna be insurance? Okay. Who says it's retirement? Okay. Who says it's debt? Okay. Who says it's college? Okay. And it's obviously dependent on the client, and there's no right or wrong answer. Hopefully it should be insurance because you've led them, they're responsible enough to understand it, and they get it. They get that if it's not protection, and sometimes, if you feel like by asking them every time, you're not getting the answer you want, then you should lead them just in insurance. Okay, you kind of just be extremely assumptive and start moving through the presentation. I generally, Peter, like to ask, okay? I would say 90% of the time I like to ask because I feel they get it and I want to hear what they say, okay? So if a client is a single parent, okay, they're lower income, they have nothing saved, okay? It's apparent based on the presentation, right? You ask them on the $200 a month slide, you say, oh yeah, when you have money, where do you save it? I can't save anything, right? That's something that you log. Okay, maybe zero discretionary income, or they spend everything that they make, meaning I gotta find them money. Because if I introduce a new bill, that could be a shell shock. So I gotta really show them the value and save them money some other place. There's no husband, so it's just one income. You only have to focus on one person, right? It's not like you're not playing the two game, right? Where it's like, okay, I gotta play one off the other. And they pick debt, okay? Single mom, child, no savings. They pick debt. What do we do? What do we do?
You can try and help you save money with car insurance or the renter's insurance.
What do we do? How do we take the conversation? How do we steer it? Peter?
They pick that. I mean, like, I would go with whatever they have for them, that, and then I would have to find out how much that is, anyway, and then, let them know that if this is going on you, or something happened to you, this is go on to be another family.
Okay.
Eliminate that.
Okay. Well, you raise your hand. What were you gonna say?
I usually, if they pick debt as one of their main priorities and not insurance, I just say, that's understandable. A lot of people do have that concern. However, let me ask you, if you did pass away tomorrow, would your family be able to pay off your debt?
Okay.
Without you? Yeah.
If their budget, what would you do?
I know it's that's that.
You just go through the debt stacker right there. Okay. All right. So different scenario now. Okay. So when I see a lot of people, especially a lot of people in my base, which I'm really excited about, getting on the phone, working during the day. Okay. They're making calls, which I love. Okay. Because I believe recruiting in the morning, I see a lot of prospecting. Some people are doing it on social media, and we're setting up interviews. Okay. Love it. I love it. All right. So we've been talking a lot over the last several weeks about emails, right? About sending emails and having some email correspondence, right? Always remember, people are walking around with a computer, okay? So you can send videos, you can send emails, you can send literature. I mean, think about that. Like before, when I did the business, I wanted to show somebody a brochure, I had to mail it to them, right? Like through mail, not even through email. Right, so people have a computer. They can have a digital scoreboard. I can see, oh man, you got this app. I mean, immediately, not before. What we have to do? You go to the office and you see the scoreboard. In every training, you're like, oh shoot, Gina got that. Oh man, they're at 3. Right, these things are to promote. Right, so you got to use that. So I feel like, and if anybody, right, and I always lean on my brother because he's been in this world a lot, and he's played the corporate games, gone to different companies, done his certifications, jumped around from the different companies and done all those things, negotiating salaries, all that stuff, right? And is it very normal for someone to get an email once they get an opportunity to work? Huh? It's very normal. That's not normal. Okay? especially any reputable company. Yeah, if you go into maybe like a movie theater and you want a job, you may not get an email, okay? But if you say financial company, financial services company, it's very understandable that someone would ask you for an email. Can you send me some information, right? So Shondell kind of staying ahead of it, because before we used to say, well, oh, we can't email you this and that. She created an email that's a general, broad, basic email, but it may deter somebody, but more importantly, it gives them what they want, but they still should come in, right? So Val says to me, right, and this is very normal, if you're running a Steam phone script, which is that's how I built my business, which is the phone call script, right? That's what we call the Steam script, is the phone call script. The script does not tell too much, but it sets up the curiosity to get them out for an interview. And you told me what? A lot of people are asking for an email, right? And sometimes when people ask you, right, you can feel, as nice as Val is, right? Super nice, super sweet person, they're challenging you, right? Anybody ever feel like that?
Yeah.
Like, well, I'm hiring you, I'm recruiting you. No, we don't send emails, right? So another thing, right? When setting appointments, different scenario when setting appointments. I'm talking to Kelvin, and Kelvin says, hey, I want to talk to my wife. What do we say? What do we say? Okay, but what's the immediate thing that we say? Hey, I'd like to, Donald, is that cool if I talk to my wife first? Right? Yeah. What do we say?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right? What I'm trying to get at here, okay, is you have to be an extremely agreeable person. Okay? You have to be an extremely agreeable person. And what I told my brother is if somebody went into talking about debt, okay, what does that tell you right there? They're concerned about debt, okay? They are concerned about debt. It might not be they're not concerned about insurance. I agree. Some people might say retirement, they don't want to talk about insurance. Oh, I know, man, insurance people, I don't want to talk about insurance. So they might say something else. So they say retirement. No, I know what this is. Oh, I get this. I see what you've done.
Yeah.
We're not doing that. No. If they usually say debt, okay, and look, people have debt. This is the locker room here, okay? People are extreme. I mean, you don't have money saved, that's one thing. You got debt, you're embarrassed, okay? I'm just that. It is a stigma on your financial report card. Okay, I have seen conversations between a husband and wife right there at the table. I mean, it has gone down right when debt comes up. Okay, and you can imagine why. Okay, shameful, bad decision, something you promised, you never used it, whatever it is, and it goes bad. Okay, I do not want to ever talk about debt at the kitchen table. If I had it my way, I would never talk about it. Now, I know it's a huge priority for many people, and it's extremely significant for people, but it is the most paralyzing agent at that kitchen table, debt. Not lack of income, debt. So you got to tiptoe around the debt, but you got to be agreeable. Okay, so Shondell, me personally, I would not go through the debt stacker. I would ask, okay, why am I asking debt? Because they say, hey, I'm concerned about debt. One, I have to be agreeable. Okay, so kind of what Jen said, and Peter said, I would let them talk about debt, but I would let them say to me that they're actually more focused on insurance by giving them a roundabout way about it. Okay, but initially I'm always going to say, yeah, let's talk about that. Let's go into that. With my plan of getting them to insurance later. Like, hey, Donald, Donald says to me, I say to Donald, I need to talk, definitely, right? Always got to agree. Always have to agree. Yeah, definitely, yeah, talk to your wife. Plan, pause. But while I have you on the phone, definitely talk to her, talk to her, Mike. It's really important that you speak to her because she has to be there in order for me to get credit for this. But while I have you on the phone, can I tentatively put you in? Sure. You already agreed. I feel good. You heard me. You said yes. You acquiesced to my demand. You were pleasant about it. So yeah, let's talk about debt, right? You can't, if you could, like, right, I don't know if you guys know this, I do this, right? So it's something like a huge pet peeve of mine is batteries dying in a remote control. It bothers me so much. It's like, yo, how many times we gotta replace these batteries, man? So I don't know if you guys do this. Okay, I do it, and I'm not proud about this, but it's something I do. So the batteries are dead in the remote control. So my dumbass presses the button harder here. Like that's gonna make the batteries revive. Press it, I'll get more energy. The battery's dead. When someone says to you something and you say no, what has just happened? It's not good. Even with my children, I do this. Can I eat candy? Sure. But you gotta eat your dinner first. Because if I say, right, and my little daughter especially, she's violent. If I say no, I'm getting hit.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if I'm in the car, doesn't matter if I'm at home, I'll get hit, bit, or punched. So I gotta be careful. But I always say, sure, but you gotta do this first. Hey, can I do this? Can we watch this? Yeah, but you gotta do this first. I'm gonna go home and ask your mom, did you do your chore? Did you do this? Did you do that? Because I know, what's the point of me saying no immediately? Now look, there are some times not to be agreeable. People ask you for money, you say no. Don't borrow, don't lend people money. Right? That's not time you want to be agreeable. Okay? Doesn't help you, doesn't help them, and it fractures relationships. There are times, but most of the time you should be an agreeable person. I hate being around people that say no about everything. It bothers me and frustrates me tremendously. Right? So everything that you're doing, especially in a sales or recruiting business, you have to be an extremely agreeable person, right? Same with the debt, same with talking to the wife. And then what was the other example I gave? Oh, so the email. Absolutely. I'll send you an email. Absolutely. Yes. You're not going to say nothing. Okay? It's literally everything I just said that you don't understand. It's literally just going to repeat that. I don't say it, right? I just need some more information, Sean. I'm sure I'll send it to you. I send it to you. I'll be there. They confirm. It's like, it didn't even say nothing. Right? But they want it. So what I was telling Val, I was like, look, that's not the fight I want to have. No, I'm not going to send you an email. No, you can't talk to your wife. No, you need to focus on insurance. Yeah, they do need to focus on insurance, but being an agreeable person. So I was just looking it up, right? I was just looking up stuff because, I had this conversation like 3 or 4 times in a 2-week period. So I felt it was very relevant, right? And it said being agreeable, right? Agreeable people are cooperative. Think about that. Agreeable people are polite. This is how people view people that are agreeable. They're polite. They're kind. They're friendly. They're more trusting, more affectionate. They're altruistic. As well as they demonstrate more pro-social behaviors. People that are not agreeable. You ever meet people that are just not agreeable? They can't do it. They're distant, unfriendly, and uncooperative. That's the way people are looking at you. You just gotta be an agreeable person. I'm not saying be a pushover. Right? I don't agree to a lot of things. I mean it. Like, certain things, like, I mean, not now, but I remember when I was like in the business, right? Like, when I was coming up, like, and that's why I talk about the money thing, especially. I don't want you guys being, agreeable. Like, if I go out to eat with Josh, and Josh is like, oh, let's just split it. I would look at the bill first. I'm like, hold on. What'd you eat? I got water. Don't do that on a date. When I did it with him, I'm like, no. And I wouldn't say it like that. I was like, yeah, we can split it, but I'm going to just put this portion, right? I'm not paying for what you ate, right? I mean it. I'm not saying, I'm not mean about it. I'm not nasty about certain things. I'm not trying to change you. But in general, especially in areas of this business, you need to be a very agreeable person, right? If you are always going head up versus a client, you're in trouble. Now, there are some times you gotta put your foot down, okay? But even how you do it, right? Hey, I'd like to think about this, sure. I'm being good. Now, think about it. You're going to think about it while we apply. I know that you don't, but you're going to think about it, and I'm going to acquiesce to your question because I know if I say, no, you can't think about it, no, we're not doing any business. The appointment is going to halt right there because that's not how it works. Now, I can say yes, but then just like my kids, I maneuver and I pivot and I'm flexible. But people that are not agreeable, they're so rigid, they don't understand. They put their foot down about everything, right? So like if I was going to the debt scenario, right, what I was telling my brother, I wasn't there. I wasn't at the appointment. I don't know. So all my advice is Monday morning quarterback, is backseat driving. Okay, but based on the information he gave me, I told him, and I gave him a little bit of, what I would have done is probably gone through the debt a little bit, because here's the thing. This is important. Learning. If somebody says, I just want to focus on debt, and they say it like that, okay? That's not just debt. That's, I'm only going to talk about debt. We're not going to talk about anything else, okay? That they're puffing their chest a little bit, okay? And that is going to, if you have any sort of ego, that's going to make you feel a little bit like, what? Hold up, right? And so you don't want to, like, just send me an email. I've had that happen. You're like, whoa, get that bass out your voice, man. Right? But you gotta be, you gotta play poker, you gotta have a very good face. So but when someone says that and you say, okay, well, okay, yeah, let's discuss that a little bit. You go into it. And then the reason why is you gotta find out how much debt they have. They can say, I want to talk about debt, they got a couple thousand. That's not a lot of debt. Now they're upset about it, and that's good, and they're angry about it, which is good, but that's not a lot of debt. Now, if they say they have a whole load of debt, like a truckload of debt, and it's a bunch of debt, okay, I understand why they want to talk about it. But some people, like my dad, right? I was telling my brother, my dad has $100 of debt. He could go crazy. Right? If my dad somehow miraculously found out my mom didn't pay a credit card bill and there was interest, ooh, boy. That would be insane, because my dad's just like that. That's how he is. He doesn't finance things. It doesn't go in his brain. Okay, and that is the way you should be. Okay, but I know that's not how many of our clients are. And if we're putting our financial plan on hold because you got $3,000 debt, that's not smart. Okay, so I would ask them, and then I would say something like, Jen, hey. Okay, I understand. Now, if you have this debt, and I understand it's a huge priority for you to pay it off, but I just kind of going through it because I remember some of the slides we said before, you have a child, right? And so if something happened to you, and then I would kind of let them say it. Yeah. And you can see why we start with protection. Debt is definitely, we're gonna really talk about that, but debt, there's an element of paying this off and accomplishment. There is an element of being a little bit, there's a greed factor, just like investments, But before we can talk about all the great things happening, like you getting debt free, shouldn't we be prepared against the one really bad thing? But I've acquiesced, I've talked to them, I've gotten a little bit of information. I may not have gone through the full debt stack, but I wrote some notes. I've documented it. They see me taking notes and writing down the stuff that they're saying. Right, so you have to, that's a huge people skill issue, is being agreeable, okay? And if you want to attract people and you want to work with people and you want people to be around you and be a honey, be a bee and, have honey, just people attracting towards you, you have to be a very agreeable person, right? Doesn't mean that you're not going to get your agenda across, doesn't mean that you're not going to move a roundabout way, but, you always saying no and putting your foot down about stupid stuff is done. Okay. Now I threw a disclaimer out there because I know, right? That's why I threw the money one. Because there are times when agreeable people are extremely broke, because people ask them, and then they borrow, and they lend. You're not a bank. Okay. and you don't borrow money from other people, and you don't give money to other people, you guys, all right? I mean, I feel like a little bit of a, because people have protected me, I feel like a little bit of a shepherd here, right? I'm probably telling you guys stuff you already know, but I just want to read it, all right? So, all right, let's go into our training real quick. I want to talk about investments. And we'll go through the American funds and go through some of that stuff.
Which one you want first?
You can go through the ICA. Okay, I'm gonna go through basic investments, basic investment stuff, but it's always good to hear this over and over again. Obviously, I think a major check mark this year for many of you is getting your investment license. Just getting it done, getting the test done, going to a class if you need to, and just getting it done. Okay, sooner rather than later. Clients want to talk about investments, many times I've sold insurance by it's a necessary evil because people want to talk about investments. Like, oh, before we talk about this investments and all the stuff that we can talk about, let's get you some protection. Let's get you applied for. Now there's a lot of different ways to make money. I love insurance, but clients want to talk about investments, right? And I was telling somebody the other day, many times, right, you have to separate yourself from normal people, right? Like when I'm trying to lead, I'm not trying to be like dynamic, but I'm different. I'm unique. I'm not a normal person, right? And I'm not a normal financial advisor, and we're not a normal financial company. But also, okay, you got to differentiate yourself from other people in Primerica, okay? And one thing that we do there is you got to get all your licensing, okay? Because most people in other offices, they don't get all the licenses, okay? They stop at the life and it's not smart. It's not a good business. Okay, you gotta finish the job. You gotta get your licenses. Now that doesn't mean that you don't build your business and do other things and go on appointments and let it paralyze you. I don't care how long you have not been licensed. This is a new year, new routine, new you, new vision, new goal. Just get your license done. Okay. For me personally, it took me an extremely long time because I missed my securities twice, and I took it over the turn of the year, so the renewals, and at that time it was a crazy time to do it, so it took me almost 6 months. That was my biggest regret ever in Primerica. Okay, I don't know how much money that cost me by waiting and procrastinating. So, and I tell people all the time, the business didn't even start for me. I was in the business, I was doing the business, but it didn't even start until I got this license. So, and this is the most fun thing to talk about is investments, right? I love talking about insurance, and I love it, but the best thing, look, my Primerica stock, my wife walked in, my wife was like, my Primerica stock last year went up $100,000. It's not my mutual funds, my Primerica stock, okay? When we talk about investments, my Primerica stock went up 100,000. 1 year, 12 months, it's 8,000 a month, right? So, I love investments, and you should be saving your money. You should, and you got to understand this, because when you understand it and internalize it, you can communicate it. You can communicate it. This is a money-making machine. This is a subscription business, right? Where you're getting people to just open up accounts. So, all right. Anyways, how do we lead in with investments, right? What do we talk about? Now, like I said, I'm going to go over this on an overview first to kind of just, illustrate and just so you can, I'm not saying I say this to all my clients, but how do I always talk about it? I always train, I always say stuff like this. What's a stock? Right? Okay. So just so you understand, okay, when you're dealing with clients, when people hear the word stock, okay, when people hear the word stock, that's a bad word. Right? Lots of things. They could think gambling. They could think my uncle said you lose everything in the stock market. They hear stock market crash. Okay. And if you're studying for the test, right, you understand stock is ownership in a company. That's all it is. Okay, what's a valuation? Does anyone know what a valuation is?
How much, the company, is worth over time.
Okay, right, a valuation of a company is how much the company is valued, right? Now, when you are a publicly traded company and you have stock, what's the valuation of your company?
That's what stock on given day.
Right, the price of the stock multiplied by the outstanding shares, the shares that are there, right? So if you have $1 million company and you have 10 shares, right, each share is worth $100,000. And so if someone wanted to purchase the company, they buy all the shares. That's how it works. So when people say the stock market is gambling, that is not true. That is not true. There is a value associated with a stock. The stock is based on the company's value. And if you actually wanted to buy Apple and you could get all of the outstanding shares, some of the shares are not for sale because they're not going to sell them, right? If like someone has to buy my Primerica shares, right? I'm holding them. They're in an account. They're registered to my name, right? But if someone was to systematically acquire them, or the company was going to issue more, they own the majority share of the company. That's how it works, right? So stock is based on a valuation of the company. There's a value. So when people say stuff like stock this, stock that, it's gambling, you don't really understand the market then. Okay. Now, do I go through this with the client? No, I don't. Do I go through part of? Yes, because I want to say that when you own a stock, you own part of companies, right? Like for example, right? I hate banks. I don't like banks, right? I think that banks, what they do to people, it's wrong, right? So rather than bank with a bank, you should own a bank, and you can do that by buying the stock. And when you own a share in the bank, you're part owner of the bank. Now, you may own a little fraction, okay? I own nothing in Primerica, but the little fraction that I own, the couple thousand shares that I have, because when the company goes from $4.5 billion to $5.5 billion, well, the little fraction I have goes up 100,000. Right? If you own a little bit, and you guys have heard the stories, people doling out little shares at Microsoft, and now they're millionaires, right? Secretaries at Microsoft, and whatever it is, right? They were given, instead of compensation, they took shares. Now they're millionaires because that company has become a huge company. And guess what? Over the last 10 years, there are many companies that I've owned that have gone from 50 million to 100 million through my mutual funds. Or they've gone, like Primerica, from 1.5 billion to 5.5 billion, right? So when people are not investing, and you see clients, and you know the communities, the impoverished communities, the minority communities, the people that are uneducated, they are saying the most stupid shit in the world. Okay, now we're not talking stupid here. We're not saying, oh man, you're gonna double your money in a month. We're talking 10, 15, 20 retirement accounts, IRAs. You ever see a property, like a real estate property, go from 1.5 billion to 5.5 billion? No, it doesn't happen. That is nonsense. Okay, now when I'm at the kitchen table, I'm not going to say that, but I'm thinking, oh gosh, right? You're not taking in, and did you know you can put money into a retirement account and you can fund it over 30 or 40 years, and when you take the money out, you pay 0 tax. And you can hire the best of the best people to pick the best of the best companies, and they have the most unbelievable research. And you, at $50 a month, $100 a month, $300 a month, can fund your own retirement, and you're not taking advantage of that. That is the stupidest thing you could ever do. And some of you guys, right? I'm talking to you, right? You'd rather spend your money on what? Eating out all the time? All the time? Right? I went, my wife, I don't go to Starbucks, I don't drink coffee, right? But my wife said, hey, go to Starbucks. Okay, fine. I took my daughter and I got 2 cake pops and a Starbucks, a latte. It was $12. It was $12. Okay? Now, I have money, so that didn't sting as much. But bring your own coffee. Go to 7-Eleven. Go to Dunkin' Donuts and get it for $1. Don't overpay. All right. I mean, I was shocked. I was like, I wanted to be like, I don't want this, but I was with my kids. There was a line on. I didn't want to be embarrassed. I was like, what the hell? $12. You get freaking two meals of Chick-fil-A for that, for a freaking cup of coffee. That's crazy. It was insane. Insane. You know, so you guys go out and you eat, I love eating out too. I mean, meaning like, Chipotle cavalry, $12 a meal, $11 a meal, $10 a meal. It's a lot, man. You can do it. You better put money in your retirement account first, right? You think that I'm here where I am financially, okay? And I'm not saying I'm good or bad, just even where I am, because I make a lot of money, I save a lot. That's why I am where I am. All right, I'm not where I am because I make a lot of money. All right, I'm where I am because I save a lot of money, and I've always saved money, and I believe in saving money, and I believe in the stuff that I'm going to talk to you about today. But this has to be a way of life for you. Okay. Question or a comment?
No, it's a question. So, when you were building and you weren't going to Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, $12 meals, $10 meals, what were you doing?
What was I doing?
Brown bag, peanut butter and jelly. I mean,
Every single day.
oodles and noodles.
Every single day. Right? That's why I don't even want to say it. These guys were there. They know me, right? I brought a brown bag every single day. Every single day. I have it. I eat lunch. And I go, right? I mean, I just, look, I would pack lunch. I didn't care. These guys did. We had an office. It was full of ramen noodles. We'd soup them up, though. We put the crushed red pepper in. That's what we do. Right? You gotta get deals, man. You don't have to spend money. I mean, even if you cook your own food. I'm not saying, look, I'm not getting into that class right now. I get it. I appreciate the question. But, you can get stuff cheap, man.
Yeah.
Like certain things, like they're trying to take your money, and I don't know if you feel better about doing it, right? Like, I understand maybe it looks a little bit sexier to have a start, but it's keeping you broke. It's keeping you broke. Like literally, you're broke. Like even if you save $3,000 this year, that's something. Even if you save $1,000, you save something. You didn't save anything, that's a problem. And if you added it up, it's a big deal, right? If you add up all the money you spend and you waste, like it's a big deal, right? And I promise you, I still ask my brother, right? You guys know, I talk about stuff like, my big vice that I overspent. I love Red Bull. I love it. I don't drink it like that. And part of it, I love the way it tastes. I love the effect it has on me, but it's expensive. Like if I go there, I'm spending $5 for 2 cans. Like it's a lot. And you know what? I make money, so I can't imagine if you're doing it. And as of the drinks that you buy, that's actually not that expensive. Because if you're buying a freaking Starbucks coffee for $5, literally $5. It's like, damn, $5? Like, and you're eating out. And I know there's like, delis and this and that. I want you to be healthy. But look, you have to have a philosophy this year. I'm going to freaking save the shit. I'm going to save a ton of money. It's okay to do things and downsize and, all those things, save. Like, I'm not saying you don't have to be a pauper, but save your freaking money. If you're saving, then you can do stuff. If you're not saving, you should save. All right. So anyways, and that's not me making something up. I bought a brown bag every single day. And you know what? I was making $200,000 a year and I was single, no married, living at home. What the hell were my guys gonna do? Like, you're broke. You're not even an RVP. You have no money. You're broke. And I asked him, I said, oh, big time. Okay, Donald got money today. And he would feel so bad. I would shame somebody so bad for eating. Think about that. I got a brown bag. I'm making 20 grand. I live at home. I'm saving $15,000, $16,000 a month. You're eating out, you're spending $10, you're doing, and they weren't eating out, they're going like McDonald's. It was like $3 for a whole meal, like, that's all right. It's 2 for 2. You know? Like, think about
That's
that.
exciting.
So right? That's true. Like, that's fine.
You got 4 piece nuggets.
I fainted on the way over here. I didn't eat some food, man. Don't eat. You know, that's the price you gotta pay. You know, like that was me and how crazy I was. You know, sometimes you gotta be a little extreme. You know, but you gotta save, man. You gotta save. Like it's gotta be. And you know what? What has that done, Hi? What has that done? That has allowed me to talk to my client. That has allowed me to never feel bad for my client and be unmerciful on them for how much they should save, just like you, right? Like for me, right? When I talk to anybody, right? I talk to Jen all the time. I talk to Shondell all the time, right? We talk about RV. What do you think I feel bad? You think I feel like I'm hurting you by telling you to go out big or do it right? No, because I would love it if you could do what I did, and I'm never going to tell you to do something I have not done. That is when I haven't done it, I'll be the first to tell you. I'm not great at that. I didn't do that. I'm sorry. But if it's something I have done, boy, I'll let you know about it because that's why I did it, so I could have those conversations with you. Because I want you to make money. I want you to do well, but more importantly, I want you to be financially independent. Okay? I want you to have money and not be stressed. Okay? And that is saving money, you know. And look, as good as I am, right? My dad was the best I ever seen. There's not one person, right? We go, our eating out, Kelvin, was McDonald's, and we'd share a soda. We did, my dad would be like 3 straws. That's what we did. I'm sick. I don't care. You're getting it all. That was my dad. Always saving money. Never bought a new car in his life. Millions my dad has. You could never tell. You could never tell. Because he saved so much money. Crazy. Right? Donated. I mean, I think my dad has given away $1 million. Over his lifetime. I'm being for real. I might be saying it less. He just was a master saver, dude. Master saver. Right? You guys know the story. My dad made $100,000 as a government worker. My mom ran a home daycare. She made $100,000. My dad saved every single dollar of my mom's income. Everything. Pay for our college. We go travel overseas to Bangladesh every other year, pay for that stuff and save it. My dad built orphanages. He's done a lot of stuff, saving money, right? So I had a really good foundation, right? And you got to be that person too, right? Anyways, all right. Shoot. All right, let me go through this real quick. So what's a stock? Stock is ownership in a publicly traded company. When you own part of the stock, when you own a stock, you own part of the company, right? So you buy a share of Apple, you own a small portion, 0.0000001% of the company. A stock has a value. What's the value based on? The value is based on the stock share and the outstanding shares and the value of the company, right? And yes, there is a market value. So it could fluctuate based on, because sometimes like a house has a value, right? But you could sell it for more or less, right? Why? Because like if you buy a house and you pay $500,000, well, guess what? If they just build a shopping center right next to you or something, that house could go up. Even though you bought it for $500, you could sell it for $600, right? But say, you know, at that current time, the interest rates go low, there's a lot of houses on the market and you're desperate to sell, you might not sell it for $500 because you sold it for less. Why? Because there is more supply than demand and you're desperate. So you can't wait for a buyer. That's how the stock market works. It's not just, you know, no, it's based on companies and their value and the timing that you're selling it. Now, stocks, the price can go up and down, right? See, the problem, and you need to write this, with a bank account, it doesn't go up. It doesn't go down, but it doesn't go up. The stock market goes up and down while going up. The stock market goes up and down while going up. So, before, how did people get involved in the stock market? You had to have a broker. You had to have a lot of money. You had to have connections. You couldn't, a broker's not going to take on account for $20, $30, $100, $500. You had to have $500,000, $750,000, $1 million. You had to have several different companies. And so then the concept of the mutual fund came, okay? Now, the mutual fund, okay, which you'll learn about as you take the as you study for your exam, the mutual fund was introduced as a collection of different stocks. And it can be mutually funded. So like what happens is like we could all pool our money and give it to a company, and then they would give us individual shares. So as opposed to one person that needs lots of money, we get a lot of money from several people and invest. And that has allowed common everyday investors like you and me to invest in companies, right? And so normally what happens is, in a normal mutual fund, Corey, you have one manager. You have one person, right? So like these people, like, and they write books, right? Like Peter Lynch was a very famous mutual fund manager. And they're great stock pickers. And so what we do is we say, well, look, I don't have the research. I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the know-how. What do I know? And back in the day, you didn't even have Google. Right now you Google, everybody's an expert. I have what I read in the news. I have what I buy when I go to the store. I can see the different companies and I feel like, Sony products are good. They don't break down, or Toyota products are good, but you just have your fit, but you don't really know how the companies run, right? Because there's a big difference in the actual finished product and then what's under the hood. So the mutual fund manager does all the research and picks the stocks. And based on their track record, they say, invest your money with me. I'll manage the pot of money, and look what I've done. I've done 12%, 15%, 29% over the last how many ever years, and sells their track record. Now, nobody knows what's going to happen in the future, but that's what they do. Okay? So when we invest, Corey, what happens is we have the ability to place our clients' money with different investment firms. We don't pick the stocks, right? We don't pick it. We don't have the knowledge. We don't have the know-how. We don't have the time. We don't have the resources or the energy, right? So we use what I feel, right, is the best of the best is American, right? Now you can use whoever you want, right? We can use Fidelity. We can use Franklin. We can use Oppenheimer. We can use Putnam. We can use Invesco. You can use all those companies, okay? But I feel American is the best, based upon how they run the fund, because they believe that if you have a consistent approach and a consistent philosophy, you have consistent results. And they have a different way of picking the stocks, right? So it's not like, hey, Kelvin, I just pick stocks better than you. That's not it. That's not what they're saying. They're saying, no, structurally, foundationally, we operate differently than you guys, which will give us better results, right? And so that's what I'm going to talk a little bit about today, right? So American Funds is one of the oldest, just so you guys understand, they're one of the oldest. They've been around for 100 years. Okay, 100 years. They are one of the biggest, okay? You can check it, someone check it, Shondell, Google it right now. But I would assume they're probably approaching 2 trillion. Okay, now they may have some redemptions. Say 1.5 trillion, right? A lot of money. Okay, now, so when they pick a stock, right? When they pick a company and they pick a fund, right? They pick stocks to populate that fund. And usually they're going to pick, like if you go up a little bit, they're going to pick 100 and some companies. I think this one has 150 companies. Okay, now, the type of stock that they pick, that's the objective of the fund. Okay? So they could pick all small companies. That means you're gonna get the best growth. Right? So like I'm showing you a PDF of this brochure, right, which is called the ICA guide, which is
It says it's 1.8 trillion,
right, 1.8 trillion, dude.
more interested in.
1.8 trillion. Right? So I show this brochure, right, on almost all my investment appointments or whenever we're talking about investments to get people that, so they can give them a general knowledge of investing and get them excited about it. Right? So the type of stocks that you pick, that's the objective of the fund. Not every fund is the same, right? This one fund is this, it's called the Investment Company of America. Okay, now here's another thing, right? American Funds is a very international company. Okay, even though their name is American Funds, and that's why they're even transitioning their name a little bit to Capital Group, because people pigeon them and they think that, oh, this is just America. So now look, historically over time, this is just for your knowledge, the American economy is the strongest economy. It's the best investments. Okay, why? The best business owners in the world overall are here. Okay, so just so you understand that. All right, now, but there are a lot of opportunities internationally. Right, think about this. Right, like I give some stories sometimes. Internationally, right, like a couple years ago, Apple stock took a dip. Right, and that's because young people I guess they like Samsung. Is that true?
Yep.
You're not-
Yes.
Hey, young.
Yes.
Who's young here? I call it young or broke people because they can't afford Apple. But I think young people like Samsung. Okay, so in China, but most people in America they like Apple. Apple trounces Samsung, but in China they like Samsung. They feel the technology is better, this, that, right? Why would the stock price dip a little bit? Well, right, there's 330 million people in America. In China, 600 million people have a cell phone. So in China, 1 out of every 20 products sold is Apple. The other 19 are Samsung and the other ones, right? So Apple is not as prominent in China as it is here, right? So that's how, 9 out of 10 BMWs are bought in cash outside of the United States. Think about that, right? So as big as the American economy is, and it's big, here's another one, right? In Africa, right? This is a couple years ago. Think about this. And I know this is true because, not true, but it's believable because like I used to go back to my country, to where my parents immigrated from all the time, right? And all they had were markets. You bought meat from a meat market. You bought fish from a fish market. You bought fruit from a fruit market, right? Anybody know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Right? You didn't have a grocery store where things would sit and it's cooled and it's refrigerated. Well, in Africa, and this is a couple of years ago, they had their first indoor grocery store, right? Think about that. That's how far advanced some of the economies are, but that's how much opportunity are in some of the other countries. Think about that. If you invest in meat, doesn't go bad as quickly, less disease. Think about those things, right? They haven't been able to keep up yet. But once they do, and the economies grow, and you have a China or India or Brazil or some of the other countries that are really coming along, right? There's opportunities to invest. So you can invest in a fund that invests in just those types of stocks, international growth, and you can capitalize on it. And you can own some of these companies that are a lot smaller, by smaller, like 100 million. I know that doesn't sound like a small company, but it is small compared to Apple that makes, 75 billion of profit a quarter. And if you had Apple stock from 1980, you want to hear something crazy? You know why the New Economy Fund has done so well? So what's the New Economy Fund? That is new economies in the United States. That means new, and you know what the biggest holding in the new economy fund was? Netflix. You want to hear something nuts? Do you know what Netflix's stock has done over 10 years?
Skyrocketed, was 6,000.
1,000%.
Wow.
If you had $1,000, it's $1 million.
Oh. Oh my gosh.
Think about that. That is this last 10 years. Sorry.
So it's called a. hold on.
Yeah. Sorry about that. You gotta have your umbrella up front sometimes. Think about that, 1,000%. 1,000%. Right? Amazon 20 years ago. You know, Amazon's a bookstore. Amazon sold books.